everybody signed in as guests. And welcome to our June meeting. There are agendas outside for you to get it, like find out what's happening. We didn't do the slide deck, or we did?
I do have the slide deck, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. My name is Deb Neely. I'm co-president of Sloan's Lake Citizens Group.
I'm Tom Brown, the other co-president.
Welcome. Good to have you here. You want to start that right off the bat instead of
No.
PRO?
Oh. Got out of line. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the crime report statistic. It's the speaker piece. People can hear.
There you go.
It's a summary and the April to May for the Sloan's Lake area. So the burglaries went up from 4 to 7, criminal mischief, property damage went up. Larceny went down, theft from motor vehicle, one hole less, and motor vehicle theft still 6 within our boundaries of Sloan's Lake. So Sloan's Lake statistical neighborhood is from 17th, 29th. Federal Sheridan, lot, car thefts. They certainly wouldn't be puffers this time of year, so I don't know whether they leave the keys in or what, but on the whole, when you get to the West Colfax, you'll notice because of Colfax and all the business and activities there, their crime statistics are higher, although burglary went down from 10 to 3, and I'm surprised it isn't a bigger percentage. Criminal mischief went up slightly. Larceny went down a little. Motor vehicle theft, though, doubled from 10 to 20. I mean, theft from motor vehicle, and motor vehicle theft was 11 to 15. So that's an awful lot of cars in our neighborhood association that get stolen. If you have a garage, put the car in the garage. If it's like me, I should clean a little bit more of the junk out so we can get both cars in there. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I used to do Sloan's Lake. Colfax, and what I did was I just combined them. I didn't know I could do that. Yeah. So this is all the crimes. One thing that just was yeah, right. I just thought, oh. I wish we had
Where? Oh yeah, there's. Oh, and the other one is. Oh, 21st and Irving. My goodness, we're at 23rd and Irving.
Last question. Now they're only going to come quarterly. So did you find out when that was going to be?
She hasn't gotten back to me on when it will be, but it's staffing cuts at the police department. So.
No, much wish we had the details. Well, yeah. Actually, down in the, West Colfax area, people down, maybe they go run around the lake or something and they park down there off the 17th or.
Like at the corner there, yeah.
They go. They go. Yeah.
But if you go to the police dashboard and you can pull up this map and you can choose the past 30 days or 60 days. But then if you go with your cursor and hit any of those dots, it gives you the time, the date that it happened and a descriptor of what, more descriptive than just the titles there. But it certainly seems that in the more heavily populated areas where more of the multifamily, there's a lot more activity.
Paid from Sandoval's office, Councilwoman Sandoval. And she was not able to attend. So we're gonna have to wing it. So you want me to open up?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of it's done. That's it. Yeah, yeah. Concert is the 20th at Rocky Mountain Lake Park. And movie in the park is, that's in August.
Do you remember what movie that was? I know,
Oh,
I think we voted and I. Oh, might be. I guess we'll find out in July. This already happened.
Oh, no, the movie is Despicable Me 4. Oh, wait a minute, that's June 20th. Oh. Okay,
Well, she'll be here next month, probably.
okay.
Just want to stop me when.
Yeah, this.
Property tax refund now, that's.
Through
Ding,
April
ding, ding.
30th, so that's kind of come and gone.
No, 25th, so.
Oh, okay.
So, next year. So you go to Denver Gov, property tax relief.
Hopefully there will be money in the pot.
Right. That's kind of a surprise to me, actually.
So the volunteer in the park, and they will be having the next Stones Lake Park Foundation cleanup on June. Oh, that already had it. Never mind. So when's the July one? Let's see. Okay, July. Yeah, July 12th, and it's 9:10:30, and you meet at the South Playground. The new South. Days. So if you are planning a block party in your neighborhood, the city does waive the permit fees.
It's a great farmer's market, square.
Give 10,000 dogs.
Maybe it worked out.
You know,
right.
I love dogs and it makes me crazy, that farmer's market.
Really?
Because there's too many dogs and people bring their dogs on hot mornings and they're all leashes and they all congregate and people stand in the middle of the park, the street, and then their dogs are all there and they fight and they shouldn't allow dogs in there. They don't allow dogs in Boulder anymore. Boulder Farmers Market has done away with dogs for
Wow.
10 years.
If Boulder can do it, we can.
I mean.
But for a lot of these people, that's their surrogate child. Community
Anyway.
grant application.
Well, that's intriguing. It's something we should talk about as a group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there, I'm certainly, we could figure out a way to spend $5,000 at Silver Lake Park or some of the other small parks.
Are we gonna do any kind of grant Friday or?
I'll send you the slide deck if you want. Anybody who wants a slide deck, let me know. It's a PDF.
Yeah, you could probably just put it on general. Can you just put it on
I can
general
put it in
agenda?
the chat, but I'm challenged.
There's
No,
nobody, there's,
What's wrong with this picture?
there is, but Deb is the only person up there.
Bit worried. But there's nothing I can do about it. Okay? It. Okay, so you have your council women at large.
Mhm. And let's see.
Okay, so the, Dottie has an advisory board every month, and it's a good way to voice your opinion about something that might be bothering you with the Department of Transportation.
Which
and-
would cover traffic issues, traffic sign problems. Like at 17th and Sheridan, coming east, there's a turn arrow, going west, there isn't, and it backs up traffic for 2 blocks or more on 17th going west. But Alan Cowgill is the rep for this, for Councilman Sandoval's council district. So you can either get a hold of it that way or get a hold of him.
There's also PRAB, Parks and Rec Advisory Board. That's Wednesdays at 5:30, and any problems that you can think of with any parks in the city. You can get on there and voice your opinion. And you don't have to wait through the meeting or anything. They do that first thing.
Oh, good. And the CAG meeting is tomorrow night up at District 1 headquarters at 6 o'clock. And let's see,
About crime, right?
they do.
And so they take your concerns, correct?
Yes, they do. And if that way you can get a straight shot to the commander of District 1 because he always hosts the meetings. So
Text 911. A lot of people don't know that. So if you need to get a little 911 in this emergency, you can text them. I don't know how the response is in text. Okay, Toronto.
Matt,
So there's a lot of good information on these. Does anybody have any questions that we might be able to answer?
If you want, you can email me, Deb, at.
Oh, we can hear it online. Slide deck that we just went through, all that information.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so next on the agenda is Jack Murphy of Urban Wildlife Rescue. And he is going to do a report on managing urban wildlife. Mostly the four-legged varieties.
That's, I'm gonna try leaving this up here because I'm half Italian. If I don't use my hands, I won't be able to talk. Okay. Yeah, thanks, everybody. Again, my name is Jack Murphy. I am the president director of Urban Wildlife Rescue. I just want to give a little rundown of what Urban Wildlife Rescue, how we started to do, and then I was going to talk a little bit about why we have so much in the city, and then we can get into kind of meat and the potatoes, for lack of a better word, over different wildlife problems. But my wife and I, we decided in 1988, we ended up babysitting a wildlife rehabilitation facility, and my wife just fell in love. Really cool thing to do. And so we got our license to become wildlife rehabilitators. And we did that up in, starting in 1988. Starting in the early 90s, we were getting really busy. And so we formed a nonprofit, Urban Wildlife Rescue, not realizing how expensive wildlife rehab was. The last year I rehabbed, which was about 10 years ago, cost me $57,000 in squirrel and raccoon food. And that was just baby formulas, So we formed a nonprofit, and in the early 90s, we started getting calls from people saying, well, we don't have a baby animal or an injured animal, but I've got squirrels living in the attic. And so we decided, well, okay, let's start calling some of these companies and we'll find out who we can refer to. And so we started calling companies, and we very quickly, like within a couple of days, found out pretty much everybody's trapping everything and killing them. And that wasn't okay with us. And so I decided to quit my previous career. I was a professional drummer, and I started doing wildlife control full time. Before Urban Wildlife Rescue, I had worked with a group called Prairie Dog Rescue. And I've been around wildlife all my life, but they would get calls for things other than prairie dogs, and they would give them to me. Like somebody had a skunk under their porch, hey, go take care of the skunk. So I knew how to do a lot of this stuff. And of course, in those days, we did a lot of trapping and relocating. Then we started seeing statistics on relocation. Most animals that are relocated do not survive. For example, a squirrel. Everybody traps squirrels. Take them to the park and let them go. Survival rate's about 3%. Fox, coyote, 3%. Raccoons a little better. They're about 18%. So relocation is not a good thing to do. And so about the time I started seeing those statistics, I was actually doing a lecture for the Humane Society of the United States, and they had a little booth in the back with a bunch of products, and one of them was a one-way door. And so basically that's a way, like if you've got squirrels in your attic, out, they can't get back in. Then after a few days, you take the door off and seal up the hole. So this kind of stuff works really, really well. And so, excuse me, let me grab a drink of water here. So, we're a small, oh, sorry, we're a small group, so just go ahead and we can just kind of keep it real casual. But so at any rate, why do we have all these animals in the city? I mean, I get calls all the time from people that say, you know, we've got a raccoon in our neighborhood. Somebody needs to come out and catch him and take him back out where he belongs. Well, like I always tell people, I've got all kinds of maps, topographical maps, city maps, street maps. Not one map has a little line that says nature starts here. You know, if you're on planet Earth, you're in nature, and the animals are where they belong. Yes.
This taken.
Oh, yeah.
So that,
Well, we can get into that maybe even right now, since we were mentioning about the statistics of animals that are relocated. There's a term, it used to be, the trappers used to call it sustained yield, which is like if you're trapping river otters along a creek, don't trap them all. Just trap a few. That way they'll breed more intensely and you have more to trap next year. But the problem with river otters is you got 15 guys out there trapping on the same creek and they end up trapping them all out. So river otters were extinct in Colorado in the early 70s and they reintroduced them, but no longer allowed to trap them like in the Dolores River. You know, so the term sustained yield, basically it's kind of like the way I explained it, like if you have a tree, you want it to grow bigger, you trim it back and it comes back bigger and fuller. Animal populations do the same thing. Now they call it compensatory rebound. Example of that is in areas, they did one study, 2 adjacent areas. One area, they trapped skunks all the time. And the other area, they didn't trap skunks at all. In the areas where skunks were not trapped, approximately 50% of females would get pregnant every year with litter rates between 4 and 6. In areas where they did trap the skunks, approximately 90% of females would get pregnant and litter rates were between 9 and 12. And so that's what nature does. That's why when people trap squirrels, all you're doing is increasing your squirrel population. So it's better to do other things rather than trapping them because it's not going to solve the problem. It might solve it for a while. It's not like 3 months later, you got 15 more squirrels. It'll take a few years to do that, but it will do that, you know? And so, but did you have a question?
It's just about the area. You may have talked about. My first moved here like 15 or 16 years ago, there was foxes.
Right.
Now, I mean, I think I saw a fox last year once. And I'm sure pretty sure I know the answer, but like, you know, what happened?
Well, the foxes, it's a combination of things. The biggest problem right now is mange. Mange has probably wiped out 80% of them, and it's also hit the coyotes real bad too. And according to the CDC, because it's a nationwide problem right now, and according to the CDC, what's happening is that people aren't satisfied with keeping mice out of their house anymore. They want to keep them like all the way gone. So I have a lot of customers. You go out there and every 15 feet around their house, they have a little black bait box, and mice or rats get in there, and the foxes and coyotes eat them, compromises their immune system. They end up with mange. And the Birds of Prey Foundation up in Broomfield, they get between 3 and 5 owls a month that die from rodenticide poison. And so that's a really big problem. Don't know how we're going to fix that. There are a few people right now that are trying to start a ballot initiative to get a lot of rodenticides pulled off the market. Don't know how that's going to go. Department of Agriculture won't be happy with it, you know, so have to see what happens on that, you know, but that's kind of what happened with the foxes. On top of that, the mange has slowed down a little bit. We're starting to make a comeback. And the reason I know that is because I started getting a lot more calls from people complaining about foxes, and which surprises me because foxes don't cause any problems. You know, the biggest problem is like people have a den in their yard and they complain because there's dead rabbit parts and squirrel pieces all over the yard, you know, but as far as causing damage, they don't really do that much. But even just, I'm trying to think, it was last week. Yeah, last week, I was out of town for 2 days and I had somebody else answering my phones for me. And she wrote down a woman had foxes under her porch and she wanted them gone immediately. She hates all animals and she did not want the foxes there. I called her the next day when I got home and she said, it's already been taken care of, and hung up. And so I didn't ask her why, because I didn't want to get into a big argument with her, you know, but she probably had them killed. And so that doesn't help either. Some of the trappers out there, yeah, I'm going to skip around a little bit. Something to be aware of. A lot of these companies, their object is not to solve your problem. Their object is to make money. In the state of Colorado, if you're going to use poisons, like if you're going to poison bugs, if you're going to poison prairie dogs, you have to have a vertebrate pest control license through the Department of Agriculture. It costs $500 a year. They got to take a test. But if you're not going to do that, if you're just going to deal with wildlife, there is no regulations, no license, there is nothing. Basically, anybody could. What was that? I don't know what that was. Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, basically, anybody can go out and buy a couple of traps, slap a magnetic sign in their pickup truck, and they can be a wildlife control operator. And that's what they call people that are doing wildlife, as wildlife control operator. And as a result, they have changed over the years. Like I said, when we first started, most people were, most of the companies we talked to were trapping and killing everything. There are still guys that do that. But a lot of the guys realized, if you want to make money, don't kill everything. And matter of fact, in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten about 5 jobs where somebody called me up and says, as a matter of fact, I talked to a guy today. He talked to 5 people up in Boulder. He's got raccoons in his roof, and every one of them said they'll come out and kill them. And so who got the job? Me, because I'm not going to kill them, And so, so a lot of guys are beginning to realize that. They're starting to use one-way door. Some are starting to get more humane than they used to be. The thing that people have to be careful of, and I try and warn people, because whether somebody hires me or hires somebody else, it does not matter to me as long as the animal's treated okay. That's my main concern. And so if somebody hires somebody else, I try and let them know what to watch out for, because what a lot of these guys do is they upsell. So like if you got raccoons in your attic, they'll get the raccoons out of the attic. Then they want to check all the vents all around your house. And for an extra $2,000 to seal those up. And then we have to fumigate the attic. That'll cost you $250 a month for a year. And if it's really bad, we'll replace all the insulation for $8,000. And the next thing you know, you're spending thousands of dollars. And I've done jobs, quite a few, where some of these companies have given estimates of $8,000 or $9,000, and I go out and do the job for $500 or $600. So it's really a big difference. So just something to be aware of, that these guys, I tell people, just be careful with the upsell. And the thing, yes. They are territorial.
Yeah. I'm not, violent animal lover, but I've never hardly
Right.
figured out. But I feel like education too, I don't know if people understand, because people are not always mindful of the community, the structure, or how Maya is doing that to is there a way to communicate that? Because I was like putting out crap to kill.
Yeah.
It's like around your home. Like I think when a person that's not educated maybe doesn't understand the ramifications,
Right.
if everybody is doing that, is there some way that we could communicate how that is impacting on different levels and provide them with solutions?
Well, that's what I try and do. Yeah, that's what I try and do, because the thing is that, I'm just thinking, like, even in the last week, I talked to a lady, it was probably about 10 days ago, and I had done a job for her like 12 or 13 years ago. And she called me about something else. I think it was about bats. But she said, you were out at my house about 12 years ago and you evicted a family of foxes. And so she had foxes under her deck or under her porch, and I kicked them out. It was a mom, dad, and a bunch of babies, and I got methods I do for doing that. And that forces them to move. And she said, I really wish I hadn't done that. And so I had a guy one time that had a bull snake under his porch. And I said, and so we were talking, and I said, by the way, do you have a mouse problem? He goes, I used to. And I said, well, how long has the bull snake been under your porch? He goes, about 2 or 3 months, And I said, okay. And I said, have you ever had a mouse problem at your house? He goes, oh yeah, we had a really bad one, but we haven't had a problem in a while. And I said, when did your mouse problem go away? He goes, about 3 months ago. And then you could just hear his brain go, And so he ended up keeping the bull snake. And I've had the same thing with skunks. People freak out about skunks. Oh, skunks want to spray me. Skunks got way more important things to do than spray you. They don't like to spray. Like I use the analogy, like if somebody goes out and buys a can of pepper spray to defend yourself, you don't walk through King Super spraying everybody you see. You save it for the mugger in the parking lot. Well, skunks the same way. They don't like to spray. They don't like the smell. That stuff stinks. And so even 2 skunks fighting to the death will not spray. They will bite, but they will not spray. That's kind of like skunk etiquette. I've been trying to do that now for 35 years. Well, we're trying, well, you can put it in the newsletter and yeah, And most people don't, because like the thing is, I'm into wildlife. That's what I do. I 7 days a week, haven't had a vacation in 35 years, and this is what I do, But most people, I understand, most people, they don't have a clue. It's like my son, he's computer IT, and he's always calling me a dinosaur because I'm not into this stuff. And like, I'm just not, it's not my thing, And for most people, wildlife isn't their thing. Yeah, I do have information on our website. And just to mention too, I've got a good friend of mine. We've been really good friends for about 13 years, and she lives in Florida. And we've come up with an idea for a wildlife hotline. And we actually started it already. And it's active, and it's a nationwide wildlife conflict hotline. It's called 411 Wildlife Solutions. And on that, there's a 1-800 number. I forget what it is right now, but you call that, and a live person will answer the phone between 7 and 7 and help you with a wildlife problem. And what we're doing is like, because I get calls all the time from all over the country. I'm listed with a group called Animal Help Now. And if somebody's in an area where there are no humane wildlife control operators, my number pops up. So like today, I got like 3 calls from New York, 1 from Iowa, a couple of other ones from other states. And the people had a problem. And so I can tell them how to solve the problem themselves. If I can't, and they need to hire somebody, I tell them what to tell the person they're hiring. Like I tell them, you call them up and tell them you want them to use a one-way door. And if the guy says, I don't know what a one-way door is, hang up and call somebody else, But most guys are going to know what that is. And like I tell them, you're paying them to do the job. They don't tell you what to do. You tell them how you want it done. You don't want the animal harm. And if they can't do that, then there's other people out there that will do it because they want to make money. Yes.
Good news is the way I found you last was by calling 311.
Right.
And that was the number. I'm not saying they gave me other numbers. And I didn't say, I'm looking for somebody to save them. I'm looking for somebody who deals raptors.
A lot of the cities give my number out. Denver's 311. My wife is still alive. So it was about 15 years ago. She had one of our volunteers go through and count up phone calls and also talk to the 311 people. And the guy there isolated and figured out, and they had given our number out just over 5,000 times in 1 year. That's a lot of phone calls, and I make every one of them. And so it is a lot of stuff, but that's why I'm saying we need to learn to coexist with wildlife. If not, I mean, I'm involved with other stuff with the state, and there's things that people don't realize. Like for instance, we'll use deer and elk. Okay, right now outside of Meeker is the largest elk migratory route in the world. Approximately 23,000 elk use that every year. They have been for 10,000 years. Well, the rancher that owns the ranch there, the ranch is so big that when you pull into the ranch, there's a little building that says Hunters Register here. And so it's a really big ranch. And he just sold about 10,000 acres of it to a solar company. And they're putting in 10,000 acres of solar panels right in the middle of a migratory route. And Parks and Wildlife is freaking out. They have no idea how the elk are going to react. And if they do make it through this gauntlet of solar panels, then they got to cross a highway. So not a good sign. And so, but we're seeing that kind of stuff all over the state. And so I've been around the state quite a bit in the last couple of years. I hadn't been to Durango in 40 years. Oh, Durango looks like Colorado Springs. And Montrose, oh my God, like down here, they got shopping centers, Walmarts, the whole bit. It's a big city now. And I was in Steamboat Springs. I hadn't been there in years. And there was traffic jams. There was rush hour, big long traffic jams in Steamboat Springs. And so the whole state is changing, and not just Denver, but here in the metro area, certain animals are adapting to humans. Other animals don't. Like for instance, I don't get badger calls. Badgers hate human beings. And so when they put in a housing development, the badgers split, they go away. Other animals are attracted. And, maybe I'll explain that for a minute. When I was saying before about nature, where nature starts. We live in a desert. We live in a high plains desert, shortgrass prairie, but we don't act like it. We have lawns. We call that Kentucky bluegrass. It's actually a European plains grass that was brought here in the 1600s by settlers. And so we've got grass that not only doesn't belong in North America, it definitely doesn't belong in the desert. We got to water it 15 times a week in order to keep it green. And I tell people are going to be real bummed out when they turn water on the lawn, but then we also have lakes, reservoirs, Sloan's Lake being one of them. If you notice all the Denver parks have a lake. They're all man-made lakes because they were trying to make parks look like the parks that they have in Europe. And so what happens when the geese fly overhead? Well, there's water. And then we get too many geese and people start complaining about them. And so we've created the habitat for these animals because, again, we live in a desert, but we've created the oasis in the middle of the desert, big wetland. And so all the animals move here because we got water, food, and shelter. Like raccoons didn't used to live out here on the prairie. They would have gotten eaten by mountain lions. But mountain lions actually used to just be called pumas, and they lived on the prairie. But when white people got here, they started shooting them, so they all moved to the mountains. And so, like, the amount of change we did, people don't realize. Beavers, they used to trap them for hats. They made hats. They almost went extinct. And beavers all over North America, Canada, and the United States, within about 10 years, went from being diurnal to nocturnal in order to avoid being killed. And how did they pass the word? You know, and so these animals, they all want to survive just like we do. And the thing is, like I tell people, like, any living thing has got as much right to be here as I do. And I try and treat all animals with that kind of respect. And actually, we're finding out that trees even talk to each other. So it's a pretty lively planet, you know. And so, you know, but you know, maybe we should talk about some specific instances. And one of the things I do when I talk to people, like I said, I try and give out honest information. And as a result, I lose money. You know, my wife used to make a joke and say, "You're really good at talking yourself out of work." Because if somebody calls me up and they've got a problem that they can easily solve, I don't feel right about going, no, I can come out and do that for you, and I'm going to charge you a bunch of money. To me, that just isn't right. So I will tell people over the phone, you know. And the thing is, what a lot of companies do, they won't do that. Matter of fact, the guy, since he doesn't do it anymore, the guy that used to own Critter Control, he cornered me at a convention one time, and he was kind of giving me a hard time saying, give people way too much information. You know, it's like, yeah, that's not really. Well, we tried doing that because, like, we do work now on donations. Basically, the money that I bring in from doing the work goes to Urban Wildlife Rescue. But right now, it's kind of slim pickings. Yeah, that's on our website. There's a little button there. You can make a donation there. If anybody can do that, it's greatly appreciated. You know, but you know,
We have time for one more question.
Oh, okay. I'll be really quick on this. The kind of things that people don't say, like, and I'll use the example of a raccoon in a chimney. In the spring, you get a raccoon in a chimney. She's got babies. Okay, very, very common. I usually average about 400 or 500 calls every spring. It's raccoons with babies and chimneys. This year, I have not had to kick one single one out. And the thing is, most of the businesses out there, the commercial companies, they will tell people, we'll come and get them all out. Now, some of them do it humanely. If I have to get them out, I have a way I can do it using essential oils that they don't like the smell of, and mom will move out and take the babies with her. I can also physically remove them, but like I tell them, if I have to do that, you better get your checkbook out because that is expensive and it's a lot of work. But I have to get the mom out first, cap the chimney, then get into the fireplace, reach up and pull all the babies out, put them in the nesting box on the roof. Hopefully mom comes and gets them, then I got to come back out and take the nesting box. So that's pretty expensive. But these companies won't tell people that the way a raccoon raises her young, whether it's in a chimney, whether it's in an attic, whether it's in a tree, she uses a birth den. The biggest enemy of those baby raccoons is a male raccoon. Oftentimes, the male raccoon will kill the young. The mother's milk will dry up within 48 hours. She'll go into a second estrus, and he impregnates her with his babies. So it's kind of a macho raccoon thing, which I've had to do some of those cleanups. And I love raccoons, but I'm pretty angry with male raccoons when I have to clean up a bunch of babies with a crunched head, you know. And so the mom will have a place like a chimney's perfect. One way in, one way out, very easy to defend. But what she'll do is she'll stay in there nursing those babies for about 8 to 10 weeks, and she'll never bring food back to those babies because that could attract the male raccoon. So at 8 to 10 weeks, hey kids, time to start eating solid food. She takes them all out. Boom, you're done. Put a chimney cap on so you don't come back next year. There's no reason to have anybody remove the raccoons. And so that's the kind of thing. The trapping companies won't tell you that because they want to make the quick buck. But I tell people that all the time. And that's why I say, like, you know, I can be making money hand over fist if I just tell everybody, yeah, I'll come out and get the raccoons out of there. But it's just. Yeah, a lot of people don't make donations. I mean, right now, It actually, for the last 3 months, it's cost me more to have a merchant account than I've gotten in donations, Yeah, I think they charge you like $15 a month. And I think I got a donation for like $25 like 3 months ago. But, like I said, I am doing some work, but even my work is slowed down because I'll tell you, the economy right now, I get people calling me up, and as soon as you start talking money, they go, well, I got to talk to my wife. And then you hear from them again. Then you don't hear from them again, And so, it's that kind of a thing. But, does anybody have any other questions that are urgent? I know you wanted me to talk about chickens. I know I could go on. I could do this for hours, which I have done,
And all my fruit.
Squirrels can be really tough. There's no known repellent specifically for squirrels. They used to have some, but it was a taste deterrent, which is great. But if you're trying to keep them off your fruit, you're not going to want to eat it either, And so that's a big problem. But the problem is that, to make a long story short, the squirrels we have here, they're called the eastern gray fox squirrel. They're not a native species. Well, the thing is that they were brought here. People brought them here. That's why we got them. And see, that's the thing that always gets me, because they always say, well, squirrels are a non-native invasive species. Like I tell people, if you're not a Native American and you're in North America, you are a non-native invasive species. And so the thing is that, in the late 1800s, early 1900s in New England, people liked feeding squirrels, and they had squirrels for pets. And all of a sudden, the zoos all over the country went, that's really cool. So in 1920, the zoo trapped 3,500 squirrels and brought them and released them in all the city parks. And now what's amazing is that the food that these squirrels eat does not exist here. Chestnuts, walnuts, acorns. The food they eat does not exist here, yet they manage to survive. And so, like in a survivalist movement, preppers, the squirrel is their token animal, because these guys are so smart. They store food for the winter, and they've learned how to survive in an environment where their natural food does not exist. So they're really pretty amazing animals, but they usually, on squirrels, it has to be a case-by-case basis. Like if they're getting into a fruit tree, man, I've had to put a net over the tree. I know my neighbor, he's got an apple tree. It's been there for 35 years, and I don't think he's ever gotten an apple. I've got grapes growing. I actually grew the shade over a fox cage, but I've never gotten grapes. Between the birds, the squirrels, and the raccoons, man, the grapes are gone. On my garden, I've learned how to, trying to think here, all of my cucumbers I plant in a cage, a big cage. Otherwise, squirrels, man, they love cucumbers. And for my zucchinis and my squash, I have these little portable fences they sell at PetSmart for like a dog corral. And I found out accidentally I had squirrels eating my tomatoes. And that was irritating because I like tomatoes. And so I put this little fence to keep the skunks out. And I noticed that the squirrels would jump on this fence, it would shake, and they would go, oh no, and they would jump off. And I haven't had a squirrel touch a zucchini or a squash in years, just by a simple thing like that. Yeah, it's just a little fence about that high, it kind of accordions up, and you just take it, put it around the area. So there are ways of doing it, but a lot of times with squirrels, it's case by case, because squirrels can do so many different things. They're incredibly intelligent animals. Yes, oh, they are. They really are. I mean, it's like, yeah. But see, again, it's the kind of thing where we've created the problem. It's just like building reservoirs in the desert. We build reservoirs in the desert. Different birds we have here. It's like people complain about starlings and grackles. They were brought here to make the European immigrants feel more at home. But of course, nobody complains about the pheasants, which were brought here from China, but they make a lot of money off them by hunters shooting them. So it's like they kind of pick and choose which animals they want or don't want, because we've got a lot of non-native species that are here. Some people even say raccoons are not native to here, but they're here now, and so are we. So,
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, if anybody has any other questions, I got the cards and the brochures back there. Please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. A lot of times calling is better. I'm an old guy who never learned how to type. I was in school. Only girls were typers. Guys weren't allowed to type. That was in the 50s and 60s. But now everything's changed, but I don't know how to type. So calling is better. But if anybody has any further questions, please give me a call and I'll do my best to help you out. All right?
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next on the agenda is Aidan McMorrow with the Denver Animal Shelter.
Thank you. Hey, great to meet you. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Aidan McMorrow. I don't have anything to, but for a repository. Oh, I see. Okay. So, yeah, my name is Aidan McMorrow. I work with the Denver Animal Shelter. And I'm here to talk. I know there was some interest in fostering, that people wanted to know some more about our fostering program. But in general, I just wanted to talk a bit about the animal shelter's operations and sort of give people some more information about what we do, because it's a lot different than how it used to be. Particularly, I think a lot of us still think of an animal shelter kind of like the pound, and it's just a place where dogs end up, cats end up when they don't have anywhere to go. And we do have animals that we take care of in that capacity, but we've got a lot of other programs. So with our shelter, we've got about 6 departments I would break it down into. So our client services in the front, that's if you go in, and we're right down the street from here too. If y'all know, we're right off of I-25 in Alameda, got the big dog statue in the front. But when you walk in, you've got a big front desk, and there's a bunch of different things you can do right away. So you can adopt a pet. You could bring a stray animal in. You could ask about your pet, maybe if it's missing there. And then there's a lot of veterinary services that you can get too. If you need vaccines, spay neuter, end of life services, as sad of a thing as that is to talk about, it's something that's unfortunately become pretty expensive and hard to access. So those are some of the services that we like to provide to owned animals as well. With our departments, we've got a few other going on. So our animal protection officers, that's going to be sort of our animal control. They respond to a huge variety of things, but often we'll deal with maybe some off-leash dogs is a big thing. There's a ton of animals in Denver. Earlier, we were talking a little bit about the dogs and these hot situations, potentially burning their paw pads, stuff like that. That's something that you could definitely call in about. If you have a neighbor that maybe you see somebody hit a dog, something like that, you can call about that. And then larger disease control situations. So when you've got dog poop all over the place, that is a big way that we see the spread of diseases like Giardia, parvo, distemper. And right now we're in the time of year that a lot of those diseases are starting to run rampant in a lot of other parts of the city. So it's really important to keep your animals up to date on their shots. People talk about rabies, and it is required to get a rabies shot for your cat or dog. It's a core vaccine, but really what we are dealing with more often is parvovirus and panleukopenia. Panleukopenia is the feline disease that's kind of like parvo, and for a younger or an older cat or dog, these things are really a death sentence. So it's really important to keep up to date on those vaccines. And that is something you can do through our services for owned animals. So my department is community engagement. It's a small department, and it's kind of split in two. Half of what I'm doing is coming to situations and places like this where I've got a group of folks that I can speak to about these things. The other half is medical services for owned animals. So we try to go out and do vaccine clinics all around town. We do free spay neuter actually for Denver residents. There's quite a long list to get that done, but we triage those requests, and we try to figure out where is a situation where we might be seeing more likely litters of puppies or kittens, and how can we go in there and provide people or encourage people to get spay neuter. And based on, I've been doing this for not as long as I intend to, but pretty long now. I worked for Humane Colorado, or Dumb Friends League, before this for about 6 years. And I've been with Denver Animal Shelter just as a volunteer for quite a long time, and this position about a year now. But when it comes to spay neuter services, in all the conversations I've had, the vast majority of people do actually want to spay and neuter their animal. It's really just that they don't have a veterinarian in the area. It's very expensive to spay and neuter your animal. Or often, they might have been misled about needing to wait a certain period of time to get it done, or that there might be some things that could go wrong. And there are some people that don't want to do it, but typically I'm able to talk somebody into getting that done pretty quickly. There's a lot of health benefits. And then going back to sort of what we were just talking about, a broader perspective, overpopulation is a big issue with dogs and cats, in particular with cats as an invasive species, outdoor cats. I mean, 80% of cats are born outside as a stray kitten, and then a lot of them get socialized, brought in, and they become a great pet. But when we've got these huge populations of feral cats, it's important that we're kind of giving people more opportunities, I think, to get that spay neuter done. So that's a big thing that we do. We have our veterinary clinic. That's where we are mainly servicing the shelter animals. They do a huge variety of things in there. So we treat diseases like parvo and panleuk, and that's pretty intensive. We do spay neuter and common procedures like that, but we've also started doing more complicated things that come up, such as amputations. Enucleations is sort of maybe a little bit morbid, but a lot of animals might have an eye injury and they might have to have their eye removed. For a cat or dog, not that they have told me this, but from what I've gathered, a lot of them deal with something like that a lot better than you would think of a human dealing with it. I have a cat who's missing an arm, and I actually forget that he's missing an arm most of the time until he tries to scratch me with his shoulder. But yeah, getting to do that kind of stuff, I think it's been really cool for the clinic. And we'll also try to help people with that stuff too. So aside from spay neuter, we're now offering stuff for cherry eye is something that some dogs get, where they'll have like their eyes, I don't know medically actually exactly what's going on, but we'll see it often in Mastiff breeds where they get like a big swollen red kind of node in the corners of their eyes. And sometimes their eye looks like it's just totally glossed over. Not something that's fun for them, and we will correct that. We also will do surgeries on brachycephalic dogs, so kind of short-faced dogs that have trouble breathing. So what's actually happening there, it's not that they shortened their palate, it actually is pushed back into their throat. So with a brachycephalic dog, they are actively kind of gurgling on their soft palate constantly. So that's the noises that you're hearing. So what we'll do is basically cut that back. And that's something that beforehand would have been kind of an expensive specialized surgery. And it's just another really cool thing happening in the clinic these days. What other? So we've got our behavior and care team. That is the team that basically they are the day-to-day working with each individual animal. And they are going in, making sure they're fed, making sure that they have enrichment, taking them on walks, that sort of stuff. And then our last department, which is sort of the main thing that I was going to talk about today, is our volunteering team. We've got 600 plus volunteers right now, and we have a huge variety of things that our volunteers can do. We only require 2 hours a week to stay active as a volunteer, and we're very lenient if you have trips going on or something like that. You can stack that time or just reach out to us and take some time off. And through volunteering, we've also got our foster program. Talking a little bit more about volunteering first. So some of the things you can do, walking dogs. We've got a big yard in the back of the shelter, and we've got a ton of play yards. So you can take them out and just kind of play fetch with them, whatever you want to do, just have them run around, socialize them. So a lot of volunteers, they just come in and the whole time they're there, they are just walking with dogs. If you're not a dog person, cat socialization, especially kitten socialization. What I had said earlier about this big percentage of cats being born outside, it's very evident when you see the kittens that we have in. A lot of the kittens that we bring in, they are super mad to be there. They do not like you, and they are hissing at you, and we say popcorning when they are basically so just overstimulated and scared that if you even like look at them the wrong way, they will just shoot up in some random direction kind of and show you that they can move well, I guess is the idea. But we have a lot of volunteers that what they'll do is just go in and slowly tame these little lions. And usually that just looks like giving them churu, the like wet cat treat. Sometimes we used to have something where you would more kind of like just hug them until they were cool with it. But recently the idea has been more to let them actively choose to come to you is a better way to do it. But we have a ton of kittens right now, and that sort of ties into the foster program. So fostering, you do have to be a volunteer to foster, but I know that down the road, there's definitely some folks that are really just a foster parent. We definitely have the need for it, but I think there's a bit of a probationary period, so we get to know you basically. But there's a brief home inspection, and then the sorts of animals that are up for foster. So puppies and kittens are the main thing, mostly kittens right now. Usually people will take a couple at a time and keep them until they're old enough to be spayed or neutered. We will spay and neuter any dog or cat at 2 pounds, which is usually about 8 weeks old, which might seem young compared to what you have heard from a general practice vet. Some general practice vets will say you should wait until the animal's a little bit older. Our main thing is looking at this from a broader perspective of overpopulation, and we have kind of a golden rule that we will not adopt out any animal that is unaltered. And we will not put it on the pet owner to get that done. We think it's going to be our responsibility to make sure they're spayed and neutered and properly vaccinated and vetted before we're putting them out into the community. So a lot of kitten and puppy fostering is just waiting for them to make weight. They're perfectly healthy animals. You've just got to keep an eye on them and kind of watch them learn about different things in the world. And that could be what a vacuum sounds like, what lightning looks like, your favorite song. You could have a kitten listen to your choice of artist for the first time, and that's the first song they hear. So it's a pretty big responsibility. Other foster animals, we have a program called Safe Haven. It is primarily for people that are dealing with domestic abuse or long hospital stints where they can't take care of their animal for a period of time. We will actually take that animal and we'll pair them with a foster for a few weeks. So it's kind of nice for people that maybe already have pets and maybe you're thinking, oh, I want another dog so bad, but you know that responsibly you're at your limit. But maybe your dog or your cat would like to meet some other animals too. This is a good way to briefly have an animal around, knowing that they do eventually have to go back. And you do have the option of foster failing with the ones that are not part of that program, and you can adopt them and you've got first dibs on that. But I think it's a great way to try out some animals without fully committing. Other animals that we'll get are medical cases. So some of you might have seen, we very sadly had recently a lot of severe starvation cases at Denver Animal Shelter, where thankfully somebody did step up at the end of the day and realize this animal needs medical care and bring them to the shelter, but they come in just so hungry that they will basically eat anything. And that can pose a serious issue for foreign bodies is what we call it, when a dog, typically occasionally a cat, eats something and it gets stuck in their intestines, and it's a very expensive surgery to remove it. So that's something that you could do. Helping out the medical cases is always really, I think, one of the most fulfilling things you can do. I mean, and some of them are, you could consider medical, but behavioral cases. Those are the spicy kittens, but it also might be an animal that was in a neglect or abuse situation that needs to sort of learn to love again and learn what a human can be to it. So yeah, they're really cool opportunities, and we'd love to get you involved. So we have volunteer orientations once a month. I've got some pamphlets that I think some of you got, but if you didn't get one, I've got a few more. And we'd love to have you come by, learn a little bit more about what we do. I also want to talk quickly about different types of sheltering models, because I think there's a lot of confusion about what an animal rescue is or what a shelter is. When it comes to rescues, really, it's not, there's a lot of different places that can be a rescue. What we would say is when you're looking at a rescue, make sure that they have some good foundations and things that they're definitely doing, such as ensuring that they're giving you an animal with proper medical care already there. Some of them might give you a contract, and that's okay, that says spay neuter will happen at this age, and you sign it and agree to do it, and you do it with them. But making sure that they're prioritizing spay neuter, because anybody involved in animal welfare, as we would call it, is going to have overpopulation as one of their main concerns, and making sure they're addressing that. Another thing with a rescue is making sure that you can return the animal if something goes wrong. That's a big thing that we have as a shelter is if it's not working out, you can always come back. And through my program, community engagement, I'm trying to provide people with behavioral and medical resources like vaccines, spay neuter, or meetings with some of our behavioral counselors to reduce relinquishment rates. But we see some rescues that are not as good. And I mean, I think a big thing with this would be not a rescue, but if you get a puppy in a somewhat sketchy circumstance, it's hard because, you know, you're saving the puppy, but if you're saving a puppy from a puppy mill, for example, you're actively supporting a puppy mill at the same time. So it's tricky to navigate, and there's not a black and white to this. But when it comes to shelters, a big thing that we are is an open admission shelter. And that basically means that we will take any animal at any point without any appointment. And that includes animals that are not cats and dogs. So we have a lot of wildlife that comes through. We have a lot of different farm animals that we'll have, and we actually will get a lot of reptiles too that often are illegal here. So we're getting caiman right now, if you know what that is. It's basically a small crocodile. That I don't know the exact situation, but someone had one. With that, we will usually transfer it to the zoo, and it ends up living a much better life in a situation like that. Ideally, though, it's going to be in the wild. But you know, this is the reality that we're in, where there's a lot of black market animal smuggling and stuff. So when it comes to that, dogs and cats too, we're always going to be open admissions, and a big part of that is making hard decisions. So some of you might have heard terms like kill and no kill to describe animal shelters. We find those terms to be pretty outdated. No kill is a movement that basically says we will not euthanize an animal for any circumstances. The result there is that no kill shelters cannot be open admission shelters often, or it really doesn't work out because they get to a limit very quickly. We as a shelter do not euthanize an animal for time or space. We're only making that decision when it is a medical or severe behavioral situation, and nobody that I work with takes it lightly. It's it is the hardest part of our job. So when we hear no kill and then we're described as kill, it sort of makes us feel as though we're go lucky participating in this situation, when in reality, we probably just said goodbye to an animal that we became very close with. So the term that we use to describe what we do is socially conscious sheltering. That is basically being cognizant of the fact that we're part of a larger community here. We have to be responsible about what animals we do bring into the community. And that goes back to the behavior piece. If a dog has, say, killed another animal, that potentially could be a euthanasia decision. And usually for that, killing another animal, that's kind of an automatic. But with a lot of bites, we'll work with them. There's no time limit. If they've been here for a certain amount of weeks, we're not going to say, all right, time to go. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for the time today. Yeah, thank you. Let's keep going. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
But the fostering, my wife and I had just final adoption of a dog that we fostered for 5.5 months. She was older and had a lot of medical issues, and Max Fun didn't want us to get the dog until she was well. And so she's an older dog. She's 9 years old, and she's a sweetie, and we'll have her for as long as possible.
Thank you so much.
I'm next on the agenda, and really, I took a quick, okay, I'm Deb Neely again, and I am doing the food forest over at Lake Middle School. And what I mean by doing is I'm a tree keeper. And so what a tree keeper is a volunteer. And I work with kids and adults and water and prune and anything that is needed at this garden. And so it's a great program, and it's coming along fine. For those who don't know, it was started a couple months ago, and it's coming along really well. And I ran by there and took a really quick video today because it's so huge. I can't take a picture of it. I mean, I need a drone. So anybody have one I could borrow? Anyway, I just wanted to let you know it's doing great. The video I shot was vertical. And you just don't want to see this. It's not good. So, anyway, if anybody wants to volunteer, just email deb@sloanslakecitizensgroup.org, and I'd love to have you come play in the forest, the food forest. It's got an amazing amount of a variety of fruits and berries. Well, berries are fruits. I mean, fruits and nuts. Pardon?
Are there kids now there during the summer?
There's another guy there that his name is Lacey McDonald, and he's a full-time volunteer for a living. So go figure. I mean, how nice would that be? But anyway, he is always teaching the kids and mentoring the kids, and so he's taken on having them involved in the gardens. Yeah.
Well, I'm asking you,
So I guess the
kids there now?
there are just not a whole bunch like there usually is. Like there's usually, from what I've seen, 10 to 15 in a group that help out. And since it's the summertime, I'm actually going to talk to him tomorrow. I don't know how many kids are volunteering with him, but I'm guessing not that many because kids are busy having the summer and going places. I mean, I'll let you know.
There's no school.
Yeah, so pardon?
It must be a gardening group, or is it Mikasa? Mikasa used to have a summer program over there.
No, this is just students. Yeah. Students, and then anybody else who wants to volunteer. So, that's it for now. We have a lot more to go here. Keith, do you want to? Oh. Okay. Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're right back here. Yes, please get one on your way out. Oh, and we also, we got this too. Keith, go ahead. Thank you. Is the Zoom, I know, I don't know what to do about it. There's two versions going and I don't know how that happens, so.
I just log in, I can share some.
Oh, I've got them all on here. Okay, I think I've got things to cover everything that we talk about. I'll let.
Sure, hi, everybody, I'm Keith. I'm the social guy here in Sloan's Lake, but I'm also the president of the Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation, which is all the RNOs in Denver. And so a couple of things. One is we just had a film festival last week that Sloan's Lake Citizens Group. I just want to thank you guys again for being one of the early supporters of this. It was an amazing event. We had 400 people there. It was right down at the Holiday Theater. If you've all never been there, it's a beautiful old, it used to be called the Egyptian Theater, but it's like a 100-year-old theater. It was great. We showed a film called Join or Die, which is all about clubs and associations and how they're kind of the backbone of, American civic life and how they're dying and how this is, is a big conversation about how to restart them and what are some of the strategies to do that. We had a really great panel discussion after this with a few groups from Denver. One is Warm Cookies of the Revolution. One is Extreme Community Makeover, and the other one is the Denver Elks, which is right around the corner. And they're all doing kind of innovative things to get folks to show up for civic engagement. in different ways. And so I think it was a really good conversation. We were really lucky because we got so many generous donations that we were able to have some videographers there. So we filmed it all and we got all the panel discussion on film. So we're going to get that edited and sent out, which we're really excited. That's one of the directors of the film right behind us, and she was able to zoom in. So we had her on as a big head on the screen. So no, we didn't talk to him. But yeah, she was one of the directors of the film. So, just from a financial perspective, it was a great, we did it as a fundraiser also for INC. We raised $10,000. We thought we had budgeted originally $3,000 for the event. It ended up costing us about $5,000, but we made another $5,000, which is great because that'll be the seed money for next year. So we're really excited. So thank you again. We had 50 co-hosts, 400 people. So it was a really great event. And I think it just shows what, a lot of organizations coming together can do. Yeah, the movie's on Netflix, Join or Die. So if you want to watch it there, Join or Die. Yeah. It's actually, I didn't even realize it. They talked about this in the discussion part. It goes back to like the original 13 colonies, and it was part of like the campaign to get all the colonies to come together and form the country, which I had no idea about until she talked about it. But yeah, so that was part of their political campaign back then. So what else am I talking about? Mile Long Table. So Denver INC is part of the, one of the things that we wanted to do was, make sure that we're giving money to RNOs to help them, be part of civic projects and stuff. The Mile Long Table is a partnership that we're doing with Longer Tables, who have been around for a few years now. And they host these tables where, you can bring anybody from the community together and have a meal together. And that's kind of their big thing. And they're trying to do the Mile Long Table, which is like 5,000 people on July 26th. Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be, it's going to be on the Auraria campus on July 26th. And so it's $75 to co-host, which is already really cheap because you get 10 tickets. And so what we're doing for INC is we're saying that any RNO that's a member of INC, which Sloan's Lake Citizens Group is, we will give $25 of that $50. So to encourage RNOs to join and then invite 10 people. So, 10 people here, or whoever wants to go from an RNO. So I'm encouraging Sloan's Lake Citizens Group to do that. And we'll, obviously INC will pay $25 of that. So. It's the Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation. And so it's been around for 50 years. And it started with a lot of the other neighborhood organizations that kind of came around at the time. And INC is kind of an umbrella organization for all the neighborhood groups to advocate on behalf of neighborhoods with the city. So yeah, this is going to be the Mile Long Table. It's on the 26th of July. And I just really encourage Sloan's Lake Citizens Group to be a part of that. I think it would be great. And obviously INC, there's a promo code that I'll send to you that INC will do $25 of the $50. So yeah. Oh yeah. So I didn't, I'm very, I can't believe this, honestly. It makes me feel like, we got a long ways to go in terms of fundraising, but Serendipity Catering is donating they got all the food donated, and it's like $80,000 worth of food for this. So yeah. So they've got Southwest Airlines as well as a sponsor. But yeah, pretty cool that Serendipity Catering is donating all the food. What do you mean? Yeah, exactly. Got to feed a lot of mouths. So, okay. Yeah, so that's that. And I think we should do it. So that's great. So neighborhood happy hour. Do you have pictures at all potentially? Okay. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, we had our first neighborhood happy hour a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago. And it rained like a true Colorado day. Yeah, like a cool, true June Colorado afternoon. It poured buckets, but we were safely under a shelter, and it was fun. We had a great time. I don't know, there's probably 20 people there maybe. And so Jefferson Park contacted us the next day, and they want to be in on the action next month. On July 2nd is the next one. We're going to do it at Hogshead, and we found out they have a variety of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages there. So that's everybody. There's food. What else?
So say this one thing about it. The only thing I didn't like was the picnic table thing was hard to talk to everybody. And I wonder if we should do like two that are joined or something like. Something more to see if they will allow that.
Sure, I think we can ask. So
Got seats stuck over on Colfax.
I'm happy to do, well, so, yeah. So I've called a lot of places and a lot of places want us to pay money. But I am happy to turn this over to anybody else that wants to find another place. But Hogshead has been really, really good to us. And they were just like, yeah, sure. And then when we asked them that night if we could do this again, they were just like, yeah, sure. And so that was easy. And they have a really nice setup outside. And so I think that for now, I think we decided, well, let's just keep this, but I'm all for trying other places. It just, yeah, if there's people that want to help, like call places or check in. Yeah. Well, and Chile Verde has done Jefferson Park's happy hours before, so that'd be a great place. I love their patio. Yeah. I love that patio. So that would be a great spot. So, but yeah, maybe then in August or something, we could do Chile Verde. That'd be great. So, is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that comes to mind?
Just that, Inc. is doing another event. Well, two things. Inc. is doing an event on July 17th at Town Hall Collaborative, which is where we had our awards event last fall. And it's going to be, we have like the neighborhoods that are surrounding the soccer stadium. It's all going to be focused on the soccer stadium proposal. And we're going to have folks from the development group and the neighbors there and talking about the community benefit agreement. If anybody's interested in that, it's going to be, I think, a good event. Yeah, we've got 8 different neighborhoods from that area that are co-hosting. And then the big thing that we just voted on last night at our board meeting is that in September, on the 17th and 18th, we're going to do an R&O Leadership Summit. That's going to be a dinner at the Carla Madison rooftop space. And then the next day, we're going to do an online set of workshops for R&O leaders and whatnot.
Carla Madison of Denver Rec Center, it's Colfax near East.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's like the top of the event space or the top of the rec center is awesome. It's got a great view of City Park. So, yeah. Is that it? Is that all? Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, special.
Okay. Okay. So we do. Oh, and yeah, that'll be great. And Keith, it's an event on Facebook as an event. Huh? Okay. All right. So we have just a few things to go over. Do you want to talk about the 14th and Federal real quick? And just, okay.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take long at all. I'm sorry, but it might be all the way here. Sorry.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
In the special events category. I just came from Sunnyside. They had a barbecue at the old brewery tonight. It was great. It was good attendance. And it was just like a burger brought. Probably 60. So just an idea.
Yeah, we do. Sounds good.
So, 14th and Federal, that area is one of the most dangerous chunks of any roads in Denver for fatalities. And we have been talking about it for a while, and they put a few things in place, like 2 places coming down the hill from Colfax Viaduct. In the street, they've got, it's speed limit 35 miles per hour. So I was out there taking the pictures today, and they were going way faster. They need to have one of those things telling that, but they did that. And then this is the line, this is the entrance to Federal from eastbound Colfax. And they put these new signs in, you can tell it's new because they put dirt right there. Slow down, and they painted those new things there. Going the other way, I didn't see anything on the other side. This is the side that has all of the traffic. You can see all of the buses over there. And then down the hill is the Cater Federal Light Rail Station. And so there's lots of traffic, people coming and catching the bus, going north and south on Federal. There's another bus line that goes up 14th and ends up at Irving and Colfax. And then the chatter strips. They've got, coming down the hill, they've got two sets of those chatter strips that, you know, maybe will, because I drove it and you definitely can feel.
So it's the white line.
No, this is all southbound. Because that's where the problem is, that they're coming down, that's looking stadium, so it's looking east. But they're coming down that hill, and I would have loved to have seen one of those portable speed things, because standing on this curb here, I didn't like it. It was very uncomfortable.
So something to suggest.
Well, you know, like over on 26 at Rain, where Casey's live. But they've got a permanent speed sign. And I would think that that would be something that wouldn't be that terribly expensive. I know that those hawk signals like they have at 25th and Federal are really quite expensive. But that is where people on either side wanting to cross push, and these lights flash. You know,
Even if they had blinking yellow lights where they have the, like on Julian, on 32nd and Julian, where you push the button and it blinks to go on those Colfax off and on ramps. That would be a huge improvement. And the Federal Boulevard Partnership tried to get those probably 15 years ago. From like 2007. They've been trying to get on those.
So could you read in there, find the section on all the deaths that's happened there in that intersection? Well, 3 in the past year.
But they're between 30,000 and 40,000 vehicles travel by there.
Every day.
Crash rate is 20 times higher than the average on the street. And there have been, yeah, you know, they said 5 deaths in Howard
And Howard is 1 block south of 14th.
When you cross, they cross from. Okay, you have.
Howard, you know, Howard on this. Yeah, Howard's on the side of the 14th on what?
Yeah. That's why it's confusing. Okay. But anyway, they've got, you know, the human services building there. There's lots of foot traffic, and it's Holden. That's right, Holden. Yeah, that's the other one I was thinking of.
I was over there. I feel like, if you bring this up, or I have just one meeting too, I would be, long very, on it, but I think this is progress, but there's going to be more. I think that's right, right now. Color, I actually have to pedestrian, and then things are, don't do it. So, another suggestion might be to get top there and start cleaning that area, and if we could generate the money in now, we save people lives and stop constant law enforcement having to go over there. No, I'm gonna get out.
We'll probably have 14th and Federal as a little bit of subject matter in every single meeting. And have different people coming to talk about why don't you have this, why can't you do this?
And it is ironic that the CDOT office is right across the street from there.
We have people-
And part of the problem is Federal is a state highway in addition to a state, and you gotta get CDOT to beg off on it too. Oh, okay, last weekend they had the flip. 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, they had the Flamingo race, and they had a lot of people dressed up in pink, but these people went all out.
They all don't do that.
It was
It was a fundraiser.
Or was this just something you said to me?
Oh, that community, extreme community makeover, it was, that organization was one of the panelists at the Join or Die movie. And they get volunteers to, like, a older person has a yard that's gone wild, and they will send volunteers in to help clean up. They'll and somehow they get lots of non-gray haired volunteers, young high school age kids. So it's really pretty cool. Yes, so let's see, when was it? Oh, okay, so May 31st, they had the Putt bar crawl. And they go to all these different establishments and do some miniature golf stuff. But it was a fundraiser for Sloan's Lake Park Foundation, and they raised $12,000 for the foundation. So it's this, I think, the second year. Apparently, they will continue doing it because it was very successful. I mean, for one day, few hours, that's pretty good. And this movie, I mean, it's a play, and it's at the Teatro Theater on Santa Fe, and it's Promise on the Hill, a West Colfax memory, and it talks about the when the Jewish community moved into West Denver, and they had that Denver film thing about that, but then this is a play about it. And tickets are $20 general admission, $17 for students and seniors. It's already started, but it runs through the 29th. Right. That was produced by Denver Storytellers.
Yeah, so.
Mhm. 15.
I'm looking at today. And,
As a partial fundraiser for Sloan's Lake Park Foundation, we have these t-shirts. Our child has a cottage industry where she prints them up, and so the front came from Sloan's Lake, back is Sloan's Lake Citizens Group, and what? Oh, the monster coming, sounds like they had a film festival of like 1950s horror movies was really poorly, at the Alamo Draft House, and all of the staff had these T-shirts. And my son was working there at the time, and then he outgrew his and gave it to me, and it was so cool that right, it was a lighter color on a black T-shirt, and that's harder to for carry to come up. So, and it also didn't have this on the back.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. You want me to hold this thing?
I'll hold it.
I have to use my hands when I talk.
Okay.
So I'm Buffy Bruns. I'm just here to give an update on the Avondale apartments. We're a low-income apartment housing, like 80 units, that's on the corner of 14th and Irvine. So basically Federal and West Colfax. Horrible, degenerate, horrible situations for a couple of years now, no security, people doing drugs, having sex, defecating, urinating. They had the 2 garage doors on our garages have not worked since 2023, the end of the year, so a long time. And then the 4 doors, getting into the garages are completely unmanned and not locked. So there's just complete access, and it's a really, as we saw earlier today, we have a huge amount of crime in our hood. So it's just, we've had dead bodies of people ODing, trespassing on our stairwells. Personally, my car was broken into, then my car was stolen, which PS, they just caught this guy 5 felony warrants for his horrific auto theft person, costing thousands of dollars, very traumatizing, but I was assaulted by a person smoking drugs that was not living in our with a knife and chased out. And then I was assaulted again recently last month by these people that are outside. There's
And it's a 9-year-old building.
organization that has many other properties, and they just have not followed rules or been accountable. And it's a lot of marginalized people, that a lot of immigrants, LGBTQ, a lot of elderly, disabled people. Our elevators have not worked. There's one elevator on one side of the building that has not worked for over about 1.5 years now. So there's only been 1 elevator, and then that will go down. I mean,
There's a wheelchair lady on the 7th floor.
2 weeks, people could get emotional. It just goes on and on. And then we just did an interview with Channel 7 News. They're doing, there's a huge rampant problem with these slumlords, and even the city not being accountable to, they don't force them to, they should be every single year be recertifying these elevators and their conveyances, and they don't do it. So it's hard to hold them accountable when the city's not doing their job. So Sam from Channel 7 News is doing a piece on that. So he's gathering, not just from us, but other people. I don't know. He's still working on it. So
When you find out, let us know, put it on the website.
okay, that sounds good. So it's just, well, thank you. I just, last month when I spoke about this, I was just very floored and very grateful. Just really standing behind us as a community. It was very helpful. So good news is, we got an attorney, an amazing attorney. He just filed a class action lawsuit. I'm one of the 4 named complainants on there. And he just filed a class action lawsuit. We just filed it on the 6th of June. And so to Del Norte and Civil Markham, and then the prior management company, which is Ross. Anyhow, they've all been served except for Del Norte just got served yesterday. So they have 21. To be honest, absolutely nothing has changed. There hasn't been, which is not shocking. I'm hopefully optimistic, but I feel very, very, very excited, and our community is really bound together, and we're going to just keep going. Like, I've had cops be like, Buffy, why are you? I said, because we're not moving out of our low-income housing is extremely competitive. It's very hard to find, and it's not about us leaving. This is our home. They need to be held accountable. It is habitable and not dangerous, and keeping people in power. It needs to be done, or they need to sell the place and be court ordered to do it, so that someone that effectively can manage the place and run the place can follow the laws and take care and manage people.
At the time that the city and county Denver had the ordinance that rental properties had to be licensed, they passed the initial inspection, but it's like. Mhm.
They only have to do like 5% of the units. They don't have to look at every one.
But they do they do those randomly, and then it's a tax property, so they have gotten taxes in, and they get HUD monies. There's a copious amount of people with vouchers in there, which is the CHAPA and HUD, and there are obligations and habitability that they're not being mandated towards. And they just sent us a thing that they're going to increase all of our rents, and then they try to say they're going to now start paying for electricity and gas, which that got squashed. They retracted that because our building is not set up for that. It's
Right.
part of your rent. So now that we have attorney on it, we go through him. We're just very, very grateful and blessed. Like, there's very few percentage of people's but it's also the tenacity of those of us who live there that you just have to go and go and go and go. And eventually, like, this gentleman is. Digliola, and it's his law firm, and he just won another one out in Aurora. 13.5 million. So we're hoping that these people settle, and yes, we'll all get some money, hopefully someday, some of what we've had to endure, but I
But
think more
fix the
important.
damn building.
The damn building, and let us live our lives. So I feel really encouraged and appreciative that we have this going, and be able to bounce this forward too, to help the next ones, and maybe, go after we have some veterans properties, how we treat our veterans, and that's not okay. So
Del Norte has the 27th in federal veterans housing, and
it's
it's pretty run down too. Which,
Like 10 years old.
yeah, these buildings are not, I mean, I don't understand how when you're from a fiduciary standpoint or from a management standpoint, Silva Markham, like, your job is to protect the asset of the building. So allowing this to happen is not just harming and humiliating and not breaking the laws, but like, it's deteriorating your asset. It just doesn't make any sense, but sometimes people don't do it because it's right. Money and put some pressure on them and get her done.
yes, money doesn't talk, it swears.
Is that correct? So I just wanted to thank you guys for all of your support and genuine concern. It was just very authentic. I just felt myself, and for all of our community. I just felt part of the community. I was just very grateful and blessed that you guys were so responsive last time. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay.
We're gonna keep going.
West, Colfax, but West.
Oh, no, they put. Maybe I need to go to my. No, it's gonna. Yeah, they have, I think they have, yeah. And then just.
We'll see you on July 15th.
Thank you all.
Have a good night, all. Thank you for coming. You guys want the slide deck? Sure. Okay, I'll send it right now while I'm thinking about it. Of course.